Very good. Thank you. Well, good evening and welcome to the Patterson Farm Master Plan Implementation Committee. My name is Dennis Steadman. It's January 15th. This is our first public meeting for the year. Happy New Year to one and all. I would ask that we start to my right and just introduce yourselves, please.
Happy New Year, Ron Schmid.
Peter Solor.
Jenifer Stark.
Red Childs.
I'm Colin Coyle, your new supervisor liaison for 2026. Thank you for having me.
Well, and we particularly want to welcome new Supervisor Coyle to this meeting. We value and appreciate the dialogue with the supervisors. We're a volunteer committee that has no authority other than to advise and recommend. So it's good to have that dialogue open. We're looking forward to working with you all year, Colin. Thank you. The agenda has been posted in all the ordinary places, and at this point, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And just to say that this committee did not have meetings in November and December. Our last public meeting was October. We had kind of a little dry spell there. We kept some initiatives going, but there was no real need for public updates at meetings or deliberations. The first meeting agenda item is review and approval of the October 28th meeting minutes. So I'll turn it over to our secretary, Fred Childs.
Thanks, Dennis. The October 28th meeting minutes were distributed to the committee and reviewed and have been updated and ready for approval. So ask for a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's motions made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Fred. The next agenda item is entitled Summary Status of the Patterson Farm Master Plan Implementation. I'm going to share. Pardon?
Somebody's phone was buzzing.
Oh.
I'm going to share my screen for that. Okay, hopefully that is large enough for everyone to see. I think it's good at the beginning of 26, which is beginning of the third year of our phase one plan. Our phase one plan was a 3-year plan to step back just a little bit, remind ourselves of the master plan, its primary goals and objectives. And to just review briefly the status of that. We have, I think, about 12 slides that will help us articulate that. First of all, as an introduction to the plan, to say something about the planning process. This master plan was developed over about 24 months. Led by a volunteer committee. Many of this committee members of this committee were on that original committee ad hoc. Not all certainly, and there has been turnover. But that property committee met and based upon its work and the involvement of a lot of community input and LMT staff resources and outside expertise, a comprehensive plan was developed, and if anybody wants to view it, you're welcome to read this here at your leisure. I suggest you be sitting it up at a table because you can't hold it any other way. But a few comments. First of all, the committee included expertise in real estate, finance, economics, historical architecture, environment, agriculture, and project management, as well as 2 board of supervisor liaisons. That was the committee. That committee held 28 public meetings, including invited shareholders. Multiple shareholders from interested groups in the community were invited into each meeting as active Zoom participants, not just as public participants, and numerous outside contributors, outside speakers, expertise, etc. Plus, we held 3 in-person public forums. Well over 200 people attended those public forums. There was a lot of interest in the community. It still is. And we engaged resident ambassadors from certain neighborhoods that spoke specifically to, I have someone to admit my apologies.
That's me. My eyes are getting older, so I'm just joining the Zoom so I can
Oh,
see your
good.
screen share on my
Good.
laptop.
Yeah, if I knew how to,
I'm good. Thank you.
just a little. Yeah.
I'm in. You're good.
Yep. And so we involved community liaisons as well. Using we expended about the township expended about $135,000 in professional services with a team that was hired that included historical architecture, historical and landscaping and environmental architecture, engineering, and community economics. That team was assembled, and we worked with them for a long time, and they were highly effective. So this is not just a fly-by-night plan. It was well conceived, thought of with the community input from Lower Makefield. And I'm gonna, because I enlarged it. Okay. Through that process, what we learned in the master plan is that this site, the Patterson Farm, has a very high level of interest in the community. People turned out. We had over 100 people on a pouring, rainy, stormy night on a Tuesday show up at the community center to hear about the Patterson Farm and to express their opinions about it. Certainly, there was a wide range of opinions in the community as to what should go on and what the future of this site could or should be. A lot of ideas and opinions. But yet there was a clear consensus across all groups and all meetings on basically 8 things that we could boil down. First, farming must stay. Everyone valued the fact that it was active agricultural land. It's preserved via easements to be agricultural land. There's not a choice to develop it. It provides locally grown produce. We produced all the data of the tons of tomatoes and lettuce and zucchini and things that are produced there every year for our community. And it honors our heritage and our history. So that was a mainstay. There was no debate about that. The second element I would say that there was no debate on is that everyone valued that farm vista, that natural view at the LMT Gateway, as it's called, coming in on 332 from 295. That was seen as important in every forum we discussed. Also, that it embodies our community history. This is an area of agriculture. This is soil and conditions, agricultural conditions here that compete with Iowa and Nebraska. This is the kind of the farm belt of the early days of our country, north of Philly. This was agricultural for a reason. And that the building conditions and the fact that they're boarded up and it's no trespassing except for the facility rented by AOI, is considered sad. It was considered a shame. It was considered a disgrace, and a constant frustration for Lower Makefield Township to try to put up with those complaints, and the community simply doesn't like seeing it that way. Also, there was a consensus that there needs to be greater public access. It's an area that could be used for education on nature, on farming, on our history, and the fact that it's no trespassing except for the farmers and the like I say, the AOI site. And it's no trespassing for a reason. The buildings are unsafe. They need to be boarded up. They're not safe for the public. It's a shame, but public access was wanted. It was also a consensus that there was a strong will and desire to save the most important buildings. Maybe not every building, but save the most important ones, but always with the footnote, without busting the taxpayer bank. I'd love to see those historic buildings saved, but if you're going to raise my taxes or it's going to be too, that's a different story. So that was a consensus. The expansion of the uses in arts and culture was also kind of a no-brainer to every group we talked to. Building on the current success of the nonprofit Artists of Yardley, AOI, they have established and created a viable, vibrant organization there with summer camps and art and inspiration. That is a source of pride for our community, and the community wants to support that. So why not build on that anchor tenant, as we were calling it sometimes in the master plan? And the other one is that it should be under nonprofit management. Every consultant we talked to throughout the states, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, feds, all said the same thing. Municipal governments cannot ever manage these kinds of properties. You need access to charitable funding, not just taxpayer and grant funding. You need access to volunteers, community programming, and a nonprofit can do things much, much cheaper than a municipality can because of the standards and constraints that are put on municipal governments in terms of multiple bids and union labor and on and on and on. Every expert we talked to said generally you can figure that if it costs a nonprofit or you as a homeowner $1, it'll cost the local government $1.35 or $1.45. It just, there's that much burden. So a lot of rationale for nonprofit management as a consensus. And with the foundation of those 8 principles, this plan was built on 4 guiding principles that were always in play. 1, Patterson Farm will remain in agriculture. And the farming at Patterson hasn't been a problem. It's farmed with modern techniques in a safe, quality way. It's more productive now than it's been in its 300 some years of agriculture. The plan has to support continuous farming. So whatever we do with the site, don't interrupt that. The second principle was preserve historical structures and the natural farming vista. The 15 old structures are the challenge. It's not the land, it's not anything else. Those farm buildings have been obsolete for over 75 years. A farmer couldn't use them today if he wanted to. They were designed for different technologies and different eras. So the buildings are what we have to focus on. The third is without active use, any building will die. It can't be maintained. It will die. So you can fix up a barn, you can fix up an old structure. If it's not used, if it's not heated, if it's not actively maintained, because it's providing some revenue and some value to someone, it's going to die. And so we know that for the buildings to be saved, they have to be deployed. They have to be utilized. It's got to create either hard value, dollars and cents, or soft value, community benefit, community enjoyment. Hopefully both. And any use needs to be compatible, consistent with the historical natural farm setting. It did eliminate rather quickly these large venue, let's have, let's have summer concerts and wedding venues there. That's completely inconsistent with the site. So those were one of the principles. And then the fourth was it has to be fiscally responsible. The source of money is limited. The source of money is today undefined in many ways. So it's not like we can just spend $5 million and fix all this stuff up. Those were the guiding principles behind this master plan. So what were the recommended uses? And this was put together by the consultant group working with us and in amongst the community. Low impact uses, I just said it. Not high volume traffic that neighbors are going to worry about and traffic jams and those kinds of things. Visual arts, paintings, ceramics, sculptures, trades, crafts, craft work. Those kind of things would be a natural to build off of at the Janney farmstead, where AOI is currently headquartered, and that farmstead generally has more buildings and in better condition. Recommended uses were included access to nature trails, educational programs. There's beautiful woodlands there. There's beautiful farm fields there. Greater access to that is consistent use, and a cultural/agricultural heritage center potentially at the Satterswaite farmstead. We're high on those list uses, and then it could also be a home for a nonprofit organization that is managing the property, because that is a given in this plan. So the vision, I don't need to read the vision. We've read it many, many times. But it's certainly a beautiful oasis in amongst a suburban sprawl that used to be all agriculture not that many years ago. But this is truly a unique space. First settled by Quaker farmers and been in continuous agriculture for over 300 years. In executing that vision, we said that it is impossible to make cost estimates of what it would take to fulfill that full 10, 15, 20-year vision, because it would have to, any of those estimates would have to assume that it's done now and it's done all at once, and it's following LMT kind of cost structures. The reality is that this elephant will be eaten a bite at a time. And what the plan called for is a phase 1, 3 years in length, that would set out certain achievable goals and lay the foundation for the full execution, full fulfillment of the vision, but not fulfill the vision in 3 years, obviously. Because the successes of stage 1 and the failures in stage 1 will certainly define what the next stages will be. It's not like we have a multi-million-dollar budget and we're just executing a plan. So we have to do this a chunk at a time, resource constrained. So we focused on what could be done in the near term, and we knew that nonprofit management would have substantially lower cost structure, like I say, thanks to some of the lack of governmental constraints, as well as certain volunteer uses and labor, et cetera. So the plan focused on this stage 1, and that's what we presented to the Board of Supervisors, and that was approved in December of 2023. and they funded that unanimously with a fund of $700,000 that has been rolling forward through these first 2 years and now into the third. So what were the stage one priorities set for years 2024 and 2026? One, property management, that it would be managed by a dedicated nonprofit to raise funds, run programming, and utilize volunteers. That's at the core of executing this plan. It's not just another step. It was always in the plan, number one. Number two, submit submit this site for listing on the National Registry of Historical Places, and that work has been done. We'll talk about that. It's nearly done. Third was quickly the necessary water abatement to keep the buildings dry, to try to improve some roofs, gutters, and soil grading, because water is the enemy along with time. And so some basic water abatement was always high on the list. To paint those buildings that can be painted with only light carpentry without complete reconstruction, to help not only protect the surfaces and stop deterioration, but also to show the community some visible improvement, that there is progress being made. We have to create and show momentum. High on the list is environmental cleanups. There are some environmental issues there with, in one building, some old farm pesticides. In almost all the buildings, lead paint on the exterior. So that's clearly a stage one priority. Also, to improve the farmer access so that the farmers' access to the fields are not dependent on driving right straight through the farmsteads, as every farm was designed, because the family lived there and they went between the house and barn and buildings, and that's what made sense. But to a new access avenues for the farmer, so this farm equipment and harvesting equipment, big tractor trailer trucks that are hauling the harvest can actually move more safely without, going right into or right in between amongst the buildings where be used by the public. And then the seventh priority was to ready some what we call first rung leasing opportunities. There are some buildings that aren't in that bad a shape that are closer to usable. And if we could kind of get a couple of those ready to begin to envision what some of those new uses could be, those were the goals that were set for stage one. To achieve that, the township formed the implementation committee. That was one of the recommendations in the plan, because the township is not structured to implement these things. We said that if there was an implementation committee created that could help the township, support the township in moving these things forward, that could be dissolved once the nonprofit was in place to manage the property, and that would be kind of the on-ramp, off-ramp for the change in management to give it a smooth transition. We formed that committee. Then there were 4 subcommittees formed: the Historical Registry Committee, committee focusing on the structure and environmental issues, a committee focused on the nonprofit and funding side, and on community communication. So we try to, like everything, divide and conquer and take advantage of the expertises that we had available. So the Historic Registry, led by Joe Camaratta, who can't be here tonight, and the Historical Commission is putting that together. We'll talk some more about that in our update tonight. Structure and Environment with Fred and Peter and Jenifer. They did fresh assessments of the building conditions, updated the plan in some ways that some issues that perhaps were missed, and executed the phase one environmental safety assessment. It's ESA, right? Yeah, environmental safety assessment. That was done. Nonprofit and funding with myself, Ron, and Joe interviewed many nonprofits associated with these kinds of historical properties. We and met with nonprofit association organizations, PANO in Pennsylvania. We made the firm recommendation that a nonprofit needs to be formed that's dedicated to this property. One of the assignments of this committee was to go interview other nonprofits in the area or in this interested in this type of activity, and they all said that it needed its own because no existing nonprofit was going to take this on as a new chapter and start from scratch. It would compromise whatever their core mission is at the time. So that was not to. There wasn't an opportunity to kind of tap into someone existing. We began soft peddling and mingling with large donors in the area. We identified $400,000 that we could kind of soft circle for potential contributions once things were up and going. But that we obviously didn't go any further given the status of things. And communications headed by Ron Schmid. We put more information out in the newsletter and in different areas, and it was clear in 2024 that Patterson Farm took on a whole new meaning to Lower Makefield Township. It was a higher priority. We were getting the attention of Public Works. We were getting the attention of the whole staff, and got more accomplished in 2024 than we had in a long time. So, in summary, what's the status as we sit here in 26 on these priorities? Property management, these are all soft judgments, maybe 20-25% completion. We studied the 501c3s. We figured out everything you need to know to set one up, the do's, the don'ts, the trips, the pitfalls, interviewed a lot of people, and made the recommendation. In 2025, we were going to get a draft of that lease in the first quarter. We got it in September. So there was some progress made, but that's by and large unfulfilled. National Register submission, we'll hear a little bit more tonight, but it's ready for submission. I know there was a meeting in Historical Commission last night. I've been debriefed on that by Joe and Kathy. We'll talk about that, but that'll be going in before long. The necessary water abatement wasn't really done. We did do the selective painting, that helped, but no roof or gutter works were done, and certainly no grading because of the lead soil contamination around the buildings. It's inappropriate to be moving that dirt and soil and disturbing that. So the grading was impossible. Like I said, we did paint the buildings with light carpentry, probably 75% accomplished. 10 buildings were painted. We were disappointed in the work that was done before painting in terms of the quality of the carpentry. That was not done as expected. But at the same time, the painting was done in a way that seals the lead, the lead contaminant on the outside. But nothing's been done, of course, on the soil, which leads us to the environmental. Again, 10 to 15%. minor asbestos in two buildings was removed. It was very minor, and we did seal the paint, as I just said. But Phase 2 environmental safety assessment and Phase 3 environmental and safety assessment. Pardon?
Three is the remediation.
3 is the remediation, have not been done. We thought at least Phase 2 would have been done in 2025, but it was not. Nothing was done on the farmer access, and certainly nothing was done on the first leasing opportunities. So after 2 of our 3 years, where do we stand? If I just say they're all equally weighted and I add that up, we give ourselves a score of about 31% completion, and we're 66% through the period. So I think we certainly have some work to do. We made quite a bit of progress in 24, and in 25 it decelerated for sure. So I'd just say as a summary, look, we know this master plan presents an absolute unique and extraordinary opportunity to transform this very valuable and beautiful site, valuable in a historical sense, in a cultural sense, and in an agricultural sense. We can transform that to be a pride of source and unity and utility for the community. Right now, it doesn't add value to the community until Charland takes the produce off and sells it at their farm stand, or with the exception of the AOI organization, where the community really is using that rented site. To achieve this, we've got to capitalize on the momentum that we created with all those public meetings. We set a lot of expectations. We spent taxpayer money, and we want to advance that through stage 1 priorities. And stage 1 failures and successes will define stage 2. There's a lot of work to be done that needs a lot of lead time. The nonprofit will need time to get started. It needs to not only we identified 4 or 5 members from this committee that are willing to be founding board members, but then we have to recruit other members, directors from the community. We need to develop a communications plan, a capital plan, a fundraising plan. Once it's formed, it's not going to, just start going out and passing a hat that year. It's going to take months and months and a lot of lead time. But we think the path is clear to get there. The opportunity is there. The buildings are getting older with each year, yes, but the little work we've done has slowed that deterioration a smidgen. So we need a new foundation that's partnering with LMT. I know there's been concern at the supervisor level with losing control of the property, but I think the control is managed through the lease, and that is to be sorted out and negotiated. There's no reason that there's complete loss of control, but whatever the new nonprofit is dedicated only to increasing the value of this asset which LMT owns. So how LMT can lose in that is hard to picture. The probability of success of this property becoming something of real utility to the community outside of nonprofit management, I think we know is absolute zero. It's been under township management for 27 years. It's zero. Under the management of a nonprofit that's organized and dedicated solely to improving this site, raising money from the community, the probability is greater than zero. I don't know what that probability is, but I'd take 20% over zero. And I think it's better than 20%. I think the community supports this property, loves this property, and will love to get access to it. And so I think the probability of success is high. And I'm very confident it's not zero, which I think it is until it gets under new management. And that's kind of the summary of where we stand now. I think we're 2 years into a 3-year stage 1 priorities, and if we're honest with ourselves, we're behind. And that doesn't mean we're dead. Doesn't mean we can't move forward. Doesn't mean we can't still make progress. But it has to be done in cooperation with the township, and that just, we hadn't had a board liaison all year. Not one time in 2025 did we have a board liaison here. Not one time in 2025 did we have a board liaison that answered a question or an email. And so our dialogue with the township has been muted in 2025, and I think it's reflected. And so, Colin, I really value and respect and look forward to working with you and value your partnership and willingness to spend some time with this committee to learn the issues, to understand the problems, the opportunities, and let's have a dialogue. I mean, it's dialogues can include yeses and they can include nos, and they can include maybes, but they can't include silence. And that we haven't had that in 2025. So I'm optimistic that 26 will be different and better. So that's my opening on the summary, and I welcome any member to weigh in on any of these items and add detail or correct or refine as much or as little as you want. I'm happy that we need to have that dialogue. And Colin, you can weigh in too, please.
Well, thanks, Dennis, for that very extensive and thorough history. And it's good to go back and look back at it. I share your frustration, and you took the brunt of trying to get things moving last year. But I think the reason we didn't meet in November and December was there was no reason to, because the board had dragged their feet and basically did nothing for a whole year in terms of getting this moving forward. A plan that they had approved unanimously 2 years ago, and just basically sat on it for the entire year without, keep continually pushing things off as far as the master lease agreement, and giving us, platitudes that, oh, it was in the works, and it never appeared. It never appeared. So that's the reason we didn't meet. There was no reason to, because obviously the board, as it constituted last year, had no intention of getting that done. We're hoping now, and I would go back first. I don't want to confuse any, misinterpret, but obviously going back to the ad hoc committee, property committee, which was established several years ago, with the strong support of 2 members of the board who are no longer there. But in any case, we are where we are. And we made a statement to the board, which, as far as I know, got 0 response to any of us, that we need to know by next month what the deal is here. So it's on you now to give us some direction as to whether we're going forward with this plan that you approved a couple years ago, or we go backwards and the property remains the way it was for the last 27 years.
If I may. So, thank you. Thank you for the detailed recollections. I will start by saying that while we're here to talk about preserving the past, sometimes holding on to the past isn't super helpful. So maybe we can set a little bit of aside in 26. Yeah, listen, Dennis, the first time you and I met, right? We sat down. I was briefly on the board, and I know you probably all know this, but we're speaking into the record, right? At the end of 2023, I was briefly on the board. I was fortunate to be selected for 4 months to fill Mr. Weiss's seat after he retired. And there's one thing that I really did in that 4 months is you sat down and you said, "Hey, this Patterson, it's a problem. We got to get on top of it." I live right next to the property. I live in Mirror Lake. When we moved into town, my wife and I, every day we drive past the Satterthwaite house and we were like, "Oh, it's so beautiful, but such a shame. Like, is that plastic wrap on that window? What's going on there? What's the town doing about it?" Right. So when you showed me a way that I could help and improve the property, I did it with the help and the support of the board, right? It wasn't one person, but you and Fred and I sat down. You pointed out the problem. I went back, I talked to Mr. Kratzer. I said, "Where can we find some money?" He identified a smart source of funds, and that's where that money came from. It came from you folks advocating on behalf of the town to get some momentum, right? I didn't spend the last year on the board. I spent a good chunk of the last year trying to ask people to put me on the board, right? And Patterson was a big part of what I talked to people about. It's a promise I made to a lot of people. So this is important. I agree that it's important. I agree that the fact that the township purchased this land so long ago and we have yet to move forward on a vision for it is something that we should probably leave in the past, right? And we should probably move forward. So I am supportive of the goals. I am supportive of clear communication. I think you know that. You're not agree with everything I'm going to say, but I'll talk to you, right? But I am just a liaison for the board. I can't make promises on behalf of the board. I'm not here to move the board or push the board. I'm here to sit here with you folks, and I will do that every opportunity to hear you out, to look at the work that you're doing, and to take it back and represent it to the other members of the board and see what I can do within that group to advocate for this work. So it was a whole lot of words to say, I want to be with you and get something done, but I can't promise you that next month I'm going to walk in here with a plan, Fred, but I will do my best.
No, thank you for that. And I do know that you were instrumental in the fourth quarter of 23 in bringing that to the agenda and identifying the funds, and you were engaged during that temporary stint that you had on the board, and it did have an impact. And the fact that you haven't been on the board also had an impact, I think. So if this committee sent a well-crafted, multiple reviews and edits memo to the Board of Supervisors in October, which Fred has as our secretary. I don't know if you've ever seen it, that basically said, look, we're kind of treading water here. What are we doing here? Is this, kind of, are we going left or right? And it very nicely articulated, said, we'd like to have a hearing or a meeting with the Board of Supervisors or some subcommittee of the supervisors, at least in January, so that we can get better direction by February on some engagements here. Are we going to do a lease, or are we not going to do a lease? Because that changes everything. That's the fundamental pivot decision in the road. If that's not on, okay, we kind of need to know that and figure out, well, what would you do if you don't have that? Or if it is on, let's go and get engaged. So that was the scope of the letter that we sent to all the supervisors in October. Fred probably has the date. It wasn't late. It was the middle of the month. 100% silence. Have not heard, got your note, we'll think about it, got your note, go to hell, got your note, we're all about it, nothing. Silence. When I reminded Dave of that last month in December, I said, hey, just, where do we stand with that note. Here's the note, remember? And we've worked very well with David. There's no criticism at all. But he said, I forwarded it on to the board again. I said, okay.
So to be charitable to the board, right? You sent that note in October, and there was a small event in November
Yes,
that
there
was
was.
going to make some decisions about the direction of how things were going to move forward.
Yeah.
I think it's best for us to assume at this point that the board was giving space for new members to be elected, to come on, to have the conversations, to get around a table and to decide, because it's this new board that is going to spend the next 2 years implementing and working toward whatever we're going to work toward. So I think that would be my ask, is to view that really as respecting the democratic process. There's a new makeup coming in. Give us a little bit of time for Supervisor Reese and I to work with our counterparts and to get our hands around the prioritization for the issues for
And
26.
that is a absolutely fine, acceptable, expected response in October or November or December. That would have been a response. I'd be happy with that response. But the point is, silence is not golden if we're trying to dialogue. And so like I say, go to hell. But just respond. That's our request.
Yeah.
That's amongst our request. Okay.
Not to pile on, but to pile on. Um, to state the problem is that, we have been pushing the board all last year because we have a lot of passion for creation of the not-for-profit.
Sure.
We realize that to get it up and going and to raise the kind of money we're going to need to raise, it's not going to happen in 6 months or a year. Meanwhile, the damn buildings are falling down, and Patterson Farm is the brand of Lower Makefield Township. And therefore, my question comes back again, what's holding this up? I understand November came, yeah, I get it. But what's holding all this up? Are there substantive issues with moving forward with a not-for-profit? Are there procedural issues of some sort, process issues? As Dennis said very well, we have gotten no response. And that, to mature people, causes a bit of a problem, Colin. So I'm just asking, I hear you, but I'm asking for a response to our legitimate questions.
So I can't speak for the 2025 board. I wasn't a part of that board, wasn't privy to their deliberations. All I can speak for is the fact that I'm in this chair tonight. I'm sitting at this table with you. We're having this conversation, right? I hear you, and I promise you'll always get an answer from me. It may not be go to hell, but I will keep it in the back pocket. Just now that you've given me permission, I'll hold on to it. Yeah, no, I understand the request. It's a sensible request. I will do what I can as your liaison to help navigate the process. That's the best I can promise today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay. I think with that, we'll check off that agenda item. That's a summary of the status. And our next item is a review of the new grant that was just awarded, the Pennsylvania LSA grant. Dan McLoone is here to present that to us or explain it to us so that we understand the constraints and applications to which we can put that money. So, Dan, I'll turn this over to you.
And you got my email with my PowerPoint, correct? Do you have my email with my PowerPoint I sent you? Sorry. Cool. All
Is
right.
that it?
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. So good evening, everyone. Like Dennis said, my name is Dan McLoone. I'm a planner for the township. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting on the recent grant the township was awarded via the 2024 local share grant for the Patterson farmstead buildings. Next slide. So in line with the Patterson Farm Master Plan, as you guys have been discussing tonight, township staff applied and was awarded a grant for the restoration and adaptive reuse of 5 historic farm buildings. Within the publicly owned Patterson Farm, there's 234 acres of farmland, in which 183 acres is under an agricultural easement. This project supports long-term agricultural viability and public access. On the right is an aerial for reference of Patterson Farm, which was taken on near map. Next slide. So PA Racehorse Development and Gaming Act 2004-71, as amended, provides for the distribution of gaming revenues through the Commonwealth Financing Authority to support projects in the public interest within the Commonwealth. Township staff has been in communication with the PA Department of Community and Economic Development staff about the process and estimated project costs. The township also received letters of support from Steve Sanacero and Perry Warren, which we are appreciative of. Next slide, please. This project also aligns with the township's goals of farmland preservation. The project aims to protect working farmland and historic agricultural infrastructure. The township acknowledges the importance of open space and aims to properly plan the largest publicly owned parcel within the township. This will ensure the uses for the 5 buildings align with farm-compatible uses for all of the renovated buildings, and it will preserve scenic farm vista for the township's gateway, in addition to strengthening long-term stewardship of preserved land. Next slide. Okay. In terms of scope of work, specifically for this grant, the project plans to create structural stabilization and weatherproofing, perform exterior repairs such as siding, trim, masonry, roofing, paint, etc. There also will be necessary utility upgrades such as sewer, electric, and safety upgrades, plus ADA improvements where appropriate in preparation for productive, farm-compatible reuse. All buildings need exterior carpentry repairs to siding and trim, as well as painting for water abatement. The near-term costs are intended to make the exterior envelopes tight, with structural repairs completed to bring the structures to a stable condition and ready for fit-outs per market opportunities and township goals. Next slide.
Dan, could I ask you a question
Sure.
on that point on the outside building repairs, et cetera, the exterior repairs? In your grant application, you cited specific buildings, specific projects for which these funds could be used. Are they constrained to those specific projects, or is it more of a general category?
I believe it will be specifically the 5 buildings that we mentioned in the grant.
Okay.
I assume if we're going to change the scope of work largely, there will need to be some sort of amendment. I'm not sure if that's totally possible, but the grant does specifically mention the 5 buildings, which I'll go into detail.
And so it shall all be spent on those specific 5.
That's my
as
understanding.
opposed to, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was a clarification I wanted.
Yep.
We'll get to it, but it's a logical 5 buildings.
I know it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the 5 buildings to be worked on as part of the project will be the Janie Brown House, the Caretaker House, the Packing House, the Equipment Garage, and the First Garage. Please note that these are the way the buildings were labeled in the master plan and may be labeled something else in previous plans as presentations. The Janie Brown House's proposed use is for education, a gallery, or administrative use. The Caretaker House is proposed for an artist studio / small business. The Packing House is proposed for artisan workshop / agricultural support space. The Equipment Garage is proposed for farm and site support. Last, the First Garage will be used for farm operations and infrastructure. 5 buildings on Patterson Farm will be brought to a stable condition after years of neglect, and adaptive reuse will be utilized to preserve these historic structures. These market receptive uses meet the following requirements: are consistent or compatible with a farmstead, offers revenue-generating opportunities for the township and/or leisure benefits to residents, and it would not interfere with the farming operations on surrounding area. Next slide. Okay, so the next 5 slides are a little bit more technical, and if I repeat myself, I apologize. Okay, so the Janie Brown House near-term repairs consist of the following: paint exterior, dormers, and shutters, repair/replace basement windows, selectively repair stone, basic exterior carpentry repairs, connect to water service, connect to sewer service, keep well for water, and masonry repairs. Near-term repairs total roughly $105,435, with stage 1 cost totaling $72,360. Long-term repairs for option 2 consist of additional miscellaneous repairs and electric and life safety upgrades, which totals $23,625. All costs include contingency and general conditions plus design permit/soft costs. That's the case for all 5 of the buildings. Option 2 will result in the house being stable/ready for a fit-out for a classroom/gallery space. It will continue to operate within the building, inclusive of conducting its admin activities, art shows, and classes. Next slide. It should be the caretaker house. No problem.
I'm trying to swell it up so people can read it.
Oh, sure, no problem. Sorry, it should be the caretaker house.
Pack house? Caretaker?
There you go. Okay. Caretaker house, near-term repairs consist of the following: new bill code door, repair windows, paint/repair exterior trim, siding, doors and windows, basic exterior carpentry repairs, connect to sewer, water as is, and gutters and downspouts. Near-term repairs total $40,905, with stage 1 cost totaling $32,130. Long-term repairs for option 1 consist of upgrades to basement, including steps/lighting/ventilation, miscellaneous structural repairs, and life safety upgrades. In addition to miscellaneous lights and power upgrades, minimal bathroom, kitchen upgrades, and paint interior. This totals $29,405. Option 1 will result in the house being brought to stable condition and will continue to operate as a studio. This option will upgrade the interior to allow for the same or a similar tenant to utilize the space as a business or studio. The space can also be used as an upgraded studio space with basement storage. Next slide, please. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Packing house. Near-term repairs consist of the following: selective demo, replace windows and doors, repair overhang doors, new gutters/downspouts, structural repairs at windows/door heads, basic exterior carpentry repairs/paint trim, paint and repair stucco, connect to sewer, connect to water, electrical panel and security lights, plus ventilate the attic. Near-term repairs total $104,625, with stage 1 cost totaling $16,200. Long-term repairs for option 2 consist of all option 1 costs plus option 2 costs. The scope consists of interior structural repairs, minimum interior upgrades, an ADA restroom with heat, which is optional, miscellaneous lights, power, and life safety, sink/drain, no toilet, new overhead door, south wall ventilation, and basic heat. Moreover, there will be need for additional interior upgrades and insulate the exterior walls, sink/drain, again, no toilet, additional outlets/lighting/data, additional HVAC, additional ADA ramp and steps, connect to gas, which is optional, and insulate the attic. Option 2 will result in the house being a large workshop/studio. Ideally, it would be leased to an artisan, which is compatible with the Arts Village concept, such as a woodworker, blacksmith, furniture maker. Now that in 2026, that might be a little hard, but we're going to try to keep in line with the Arts Village concept to use as a workshop and/or display gallery. Next slide. Okay. Equipment garage, near-term repairs consist of the following: selective demo, repair the windows, repair doors, new gutters slash downspouts, structural repairs at foundations, basic exterior carpentry repairs, basic structural repairs, infill ground hog holes, connect to sewer, connect to water, paint slash repair exterior trim and siding, plus electrical panel and security lights. Near-term repairs total roughly 100,000, with stage one cost totaling roughly 59,000. Next slide.
Have to comment on this picture.
Sure.
That equipment shed will not accommodate that equipment, which I had on my farm in 1970,
Okay.
okay, 55 years ago. That's obsolete
Yeah.
building and equipment. That's how old the building is relative to agricultural use,
Correct. Correct.
just a point.
Okay. This is the last one that gets kind of super technical, so just bear with me. First garage, near-term repairs consist of the following: repair windows, repair the upper door. Sorry, okay, there you go. Repair the upper door, paint slash repair exterior trim and siding, structural repairs, wood frame and foundation, basic exterior carpentry repairs, connect to sewer, connect to water, electric panel and security, lights, gutters, and downspouts. Near-term repairs total roughly 65,000, with stage one costs totaling roughly 29,000. Next slide. Okay, moving over to the financial summary. The estimated project cost at time of submittal was $969,181. It was recently communicated from the DCED that the township was awarded $861,147. Specifically, roughly $773,000 has been budgeted for the renovations, $28,000 for contingencies, and $59K for engineering. So to cover the difference between the estimated project cost and the award amount, after speaking with the township manager, he confirmed that the township has budgeted funds, approximately $500,000, allocated in its 2026 budget specifically for the Patterson Farm rehab. The township, in accordance with the law, will place the project out for bid to hire a contractor in addition to retaining an architect/engineer for the project. Prevailing wage determined by the PA Department of Labor and Industry will also be utilized. And to also kind of harp on what you said earlier about this not being a huge tax burden on the residents, there was no local match required for this program, which is good news. Funds will go towards stage one costs, near-term and long-term costs for 3 buildings, and then 2 additional buildings will use funds for just the short-term costs and near-term costs. Next slide, please. Okay. So yeah, again, just kind of going in line with the farmland stuff. This is consistent with township open space and farmland preservation priorities. It'll protect 183 acres of permanently preserved farmland. It ensures non-farm development remains compatible with agricultural use, and it strengthens the long-term viability of Patterson Farm as working landscape. Next slide. Okay. The grant amount will yield many positive externalities for the township and the greater Philadelphia area, such as preserving irreplaceable historic agricultural resources, supporting local farming and farm-based enterprises. It will create construction and long-term management jobs. It will increase educational, recreational, and tourism activity. Moreover, it will generate sustainable revenue for farm stewardship. Next slide. Okay, so timeline. The project has started in January 2026, just kind of getting the ball rolling through community engagement such as this presentation and our communication with the DCED. Throughout winter 2026, the township will also begin the work diligently, starting the process of bidding and site prep. The project is estimated for completion as indicated in the grant for December 2026/winter 2027. Just with, how construction works, it might take a little longer. And the township is taking a phased approach, as Dennis mentioned earlier in his presentation. And last slide. All right, cool. So just to sum things up, this is a critical investment in preservation, stewardship, and sustainability. It protects farmland while unlocking community and economic value. It positions Patterson Farm for long-term success for future generations, And since this is LMT's largest owned publicly owned parcel, the township's going to do its best to get this right and, do all the fit outs to the best of our ability so that we can bring these buildings to market conditions. And I'll happily take any questions.
You're going to get a battery of them from me.
Oh, great.
You were expecting that anyways, though,
yeah.
I expect.
What's up?
All right. First one, an easy one. This was submitted in 24.
Yep.
Work is getting done, say 18 months later. Was inflation figured into those costs?
I don't know. I do the contingencies were put in the cost, but I don't think inflation was.
Okay. Next question. I know I went through all that effort back in 24 to generate that extra conditions report.
Okay.
Were those conditions incorporated, discoveries that were found on those buildings incorporated into the proposed budget here? Or is that relying back on the 2023 information?
No, it's relying back on the 2023 information.
Right. So there is more work that needs to be done than what was incorporated
Okay.
in.
Yeah, when I remember working with Joe and Dennis, and I think we kind of just nailed down specifically what they wanted to see in the grant. So I think this was the 5 buildings at the time when we submitted.
No, and I agree completely. The 5
Yeah.
buildings make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Independently of this, in an email, and I basically said this would be my priority if I only had 900,000.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember you saying that.
But I think I think we're going to be short scope and short money,
Yep.
which will lead to some other questions later on.
Yep.
Lots of questions about, is it in the interest of this committee to lobby for paying for more money to get more done, which I personally think is valid, but I think we're going to get to that point. I don't know. Are you constructing this as base bid plus options?
So sorry, to your first point, I agree with you, just with how construction kind of works. So yeah, the shortfall is roughly $130,000. And then the good news is that the township did put a line item for $500,000 in the 2026 budget. Now, obviously, it's not up to me if the Board of Supervisors wants to use the remaining $370,000 specifically for this grant, but there potentially could be more money put.
Well, I'm saying, but separate of that most of that $500,000 that's being rolled over is for other items that still need to happen. The phase
Right.
2, the driveway, the soil and grading, which is going to be critical even on a couple of these buildings.
Yep, I agree.
Like the caretaker's cottage, fixing the siding is great, but you've got dirt piled up against it. So you're just going to recreate the problem. But unfortunately, there's lead paint in that soil. So the soil has to be cut down low, hauled off site, new topsoil brought in. Presumably that's not in this scope here. That's part of that whole other scope.
Correct.
So the other question, is this going to be constructed like as a base bid plus options then?
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
Like say we're going to do the Janney house and the caretaker's cottage, the base bid and an add option for the packing house and an add option for the garage, and then where the money runs out was where the money runs out.
That would probably make sense, and I can bring that to David's attention. But I'm not sure specifically how
Okay.
we're going to do it.
Because
I'll make it.
Because in addition to the gap, you just identify with the price, there's the inflation, and also there's, like I said, go to my condition report, and things have continued to deteriorate going back to our earlier conversation here.
Right.
So
No, that's a really good point. I will definitely mention that to David so that we can be cognizant of that.
Peter, what if we talk about doing like a SD level pricing exercise? And then we'll get a better sense of what all of this is costing at, and that'll help us determine if we do a base bid, what to make the base bid scope.
Yep, that's a good point.
Okay.
Just one question. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second, and this is just a point of clarification. I can remember going out to the equipment garage, frankly, with the DeLuca brothers,
Okay.
and they were talking about providing some assistance to us at that time in terms of cleaning up the equipment garage. And the discussion that day was not to connect the sewer and water because it was too expensive, but that they would help in bringing some of their contractors in to do this for us. Has that been considered in what you're doing?
they can't consider that in there, but you could make that the last option, which I think makes sense because that's a good example of a discovered condition in my report.
Okay.
The foundations on the southwest corner of that, but there's foundation issues with the equipment shed, which are going to make it a lot bigger problem than you think it is. And the water and sewer, by the way, doesn't make sense to me because there's no heat.
Right.
Yeah,
There's no way to put heat in it. So
yeah, I'm not sure specifically how it worked with the DeLucas. They are in our office a decent amount just with all the land development stuff, so I can bring it up to them. I'm not sure because obviously we'll have, because we're a municipality, we'll have to do bidding, and I don't know how that would work. But yeah, I'll happily bring that up next time I see them.
but I think that what's going to happen is if you make it the last option, we're not going to get that far. And then it'll be a outstanding work then it could be handled by the nonprofit.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dan, and congratulations.
Of course, thanks for having
putting
me.
that bid together and having it and winning the grant. It's fundamental. These funds will go a long way towards our phase one targets.
Yep.
But as Jenifer and Peter are saying, we know that the costs are not going to be, or the costs are going to be greater
Yep.
than what they were estimated to be in '23. So I think the proper deployment of this grant is going to involve a lot of work by this committee, the structures and environmental side, to really look at all those projects and to prioritize, put them in the right order of priority, and to integrate some of those with other things like the caretaker house and the soil remediation, if that needs to be done before any siding could be done. So there's that integration of these projects in with activities that were not in those funds,
Yep.
as well as the prioritization of them. I think it'll take quite a bit of analysis in generating those bids as to how to best structure that. And Jenifer, Peter have already given you some guidance on ways to make that more productive.
For
So
sure, that's very helpful. I appreciate
there's a
the
lot of
context.
work to be done there. But it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Other,
I think there's one other comment because you discussed farm operations, but obviously the scheduling is also going to have to work around AOY
Yep.
operations, in particular summer camp. I was seeing facial expressions behind you when you were presenting, and she's giving me thumbs up now that I've asked
Right.
you this.
I got it. No worries.
Don't go moving the lead soil around when my kids are there learning to paint, please. That'd be great. Thank you.
Right.
So the painting that was done and the minor carpet,
I was expecting that question to come up too.
how does that tie into it? Does
the
that need
painting
to
that
be
was done was-
reimbursed out of that grant or?
No, the painting all has to get done again. Well, I mean, number one, it's already going to be a year plus on all these surfaces. Their painting job wasn't the greatest in the world. It was only meant to be a 10-year stabilization anyways. Their wood trim repairs weren't historically compliant. If we touch these buildings again, we're going to try to do it right.
Right.
So yeah, the painting cost should be a little bit lower because there's going to be a lot less prep for the new painter, but it's going to need to be repainted again as part of this process. There's enough new work going on all these surfaces, the windows, the shutters, the wood trim that needs to be done, the siding that needs to be cut in. Jenifer, you want to add to that? But I think that's pretty much. Okay.
that list going. No, and we knew the painting was a step and not permanent. It was a step in the process but yeah, these are all the things that have to be shuffled into this deck to be sure that it's done in a rational, most efficient way.
Since this is farm and agriculture oriented, There was specifically farm compatible use was part of the terms. Who determines what that is?
To be honest, I just took a lot of the wordage from the master plan, so I think that was kind of, or do you mean like when, like after the fact that they're built? I guess my understanding would just be if it aligns with the plan itself. So if there were any uses in tandem with, because it's in the Edgewood Village Historic District, that ordinance for the, just in general to see if it kind of aligns with stuff in the ordinance.
What we talked about in the plan was compatibility to some degree is non-interference. That you're not going to have activities and traffic or people or things that are incompatible with a farmer harvesting equipment or, planting fields or spraying crops. That's how it was used in that context, at least.
I'm just not sure what the funding sources definition is.
Any other comments for Dan? Hearing, we have a comment from the public. We can take public comments now, by the way, on what's been said so far. State your name and address for the record, please.
You just gotta press. There you go.
Hi, committee. Hi, Dan. Hi. Colin. Bette Sovany, currently Executive Director of AOI Arts Center and 44-year resident of Lower Makefield on Ferry Road. Do you want the whole address?
Please no.
What?
Please no.
Please no?
Don't read your address into the public record.
All right, thank
You're
you.
a Makefield resident. You're good.
So, how long is all this bidding stuff going to take? Because if you're going to finish by winter of 27, I'm confused as to you're going to have to go.
I'm sorry. Could you get a little closer to the mic? Could you repeat that?
I'm kind of curious about the timing or confused about the timing. If you're going to have to go to bidding and reassess all of the, situations, the on-site stuff as of the grant writing versus the current situation, how long is this process going to take? You're going to have to go out to RFP?
Yeah, we'll probably do an RFP and then, get a bid for the public. I'm assuming that it might take longer than what we have in the timeline.
Yeah, we gotta go to design first.
Right.
So
That-
it's not happening. Well, it can happen fairly quickly, but
Right.
relative to some bigger projects, right, Jenifer?
Okay.
But,
And
yeah.
a question about the opportunity for input to improvements that were articulated 3 years ago versus things that we'd like to have input on. How is that process?
Well,
We come to the committee.
Yeah, I think the subcommittee of this group responsible for the structures, they are going to have meetings and discussions on these projects and really look at their scope in more detail. And therein would be an opportunity to draw you in as the tenant of the Janney house, et cetera, and be sure this is still compatible with the uses and the needs.
Okay. I didn't see in any of the scope that was in the grant, the parking.
Do you have concerns just for the additional parking?
Well, the way the parking was designed by these guys, Solor and Drewy, we have a lot of concerns.
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't addressed in the,
That was not part of the.
That's not part of the grant.
no,
Okay.
nothing with parking. No.
So if the sewer comes in and you connect all these buildings to the sewer, is that coming in from the Satterthwaite side? I believe that's what I remember was the connection down
I'm
off
not
of Mirror Lake.
real sure about that detail.
I'm not
Okay.
sure. I can look at like a sewer plan or an as-built or something and let you know.
And Peter, thank you. Yes, please do accommodate AOI's
Yeah, right now, this is all very,
Operations.
we see we have the grant. We need to now do greater homework on top of the work that Dan's already done to integrate this properly in actually deploying it.
Right.
Right.
And then is the committee concurrently going to be working on the nonprofit issue? Because frankly, AOI doesn't know what our role is. You know, we'll provide input, we'll provide, you know, our thoughts on things, but we can go further, but we don't know because we don't have a structure to work with.
Understood. Yeah, but, you know, as things clarify, we'll clarify them. I mean, we have a good working relationship and dialogue now. As long as that continues, there'll be no surprises.
Okay. Oh, one more thing. Is the fence around the Patterson farmstead still? I know it's not in the grant.
No.
There. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
So Bet, I just wanted to say one thing. Probably what usually happens is the selected professional team will be introduced to a proper stakeholder subcommittee, like just a group that they work with to develop the concept design and move it through to permit level drawings. So AOI would definitely be part of that stakeholder subset.
Okay.
So you'll be at the table from the beginning. At least I would recommend that that's the way it gets structured.
Yep, I would
Yeah.
totally agree.
Okay.
Are there any, Ron's talking. I would also suggest that we get the community back involved, talking about what kind of opportunities they would like to see as these evolve into usable buildings. So I'd recommend another public meeting, Ron. No problem, Ron.
Thank you. And thank you, Dan. Appreciate it again.
Thanks for your time and all your effort with the project. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Well done. Subcommittee updates, structures and environment. Did we just do that, or is there any other update
We
beyond?
pretty much just did it. I haven't heard anything,
Okay.
any emails from Dave about the phase 2, phase 3, and nothing from Jim about the survey for the access road.
Okay. Thank you. Nonprofit and funding subcommittee. Thank you, Dan. There's nothing new to report there, right? No. There's been no activity. On the National Registry submission, the Historical Commission met last night, and they decided not to approve the submission right now. There was one member that wanted to review it more closely and maybe add some additional detail. I had conversations with Joe and Kathy Hanville, the chair. They're not happy with that outcome, and they believe that it is ready to submit, and it's their intention at their February meeting to make a formal motion to vote to approve it for submission. I told them that I would report that meeting, what went on at that meeting last night here. I know, Colin, you were at that meeting. I don't know if there's anything you want to report on that topic.
Yeah, so I am fortunate to be the liaison for both Patterson Farm Master Plan and Historic Commission. You are correct. There was a decision made to extend the timeline to submit the application to February instead of to vote on it in the January meeting. What I will say is that hasn't actually slowed down any parts of the real process, right? The review process, the board that reviews those things at the state level only meets periodically. Submitting at the end of February versus the end of January isn't going to change when we get evaluated. So it was really a decision that was made to allow one member of the commission to bring in some other research that was done to make sure that the application was as full and complete and to give us the best possible footing to achieve this milestone.
Okay. I know from this committee's perspective, we see this filing and getting this status as listed on the National Registry of Historical Places is very, very important to the success of this reestablishment, renovation of Patterson Farm, because it will help greatly in winning grants and in doing fundraising. And even if it goes in February, I forget all the detailed timeline, but it'll take roughly a year before that decision is
I
made.
believe the next review opportunity is June, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
And then
So
they
it's
take another,
it's a significant amount of time.
it's a long lead time. And so from this committee's perspective, from my perspective, it should be submitted as soon as possible, as defined as if it's adequate to win listing on the National Registry, it should be submitted. If the application is subpar somehow, of course, we don't want it to go in. But if the Historical Commission feels it will win getting a listing, they should submit it ASAP. And I, for one, would like to discuss with this committee of making a formal motion that we request of the Historic Commission, this committee request, that they submit that ASAP as soon as it is deemed adequate to gain listing. That research on the historical structures will go on for another 50 years. It'll never end, and we can't wait for it to end. It would just have to get it to a point where it's worthy of approval. And I'm interested if this committee is interested in actually entertaining such a motion.
I would support that motion, yes.
I support it. I'm just not sure how that would be taken on their.
It was told to me it may be helpful.
Well, they have to make the decision. You basically say ask them to make a decision at their next meeting, correct? That might be a little less than ASAP. A little bit diplomatic.
That's fair.
You have to remember too, though, that Joe was working with PHMC and getting interim reviews so that he was getting critiques on what he was doing and getting constructive criticism, and they were steering him. So if he feels that he made it to a level that's acceptable based on all of this informal data and comment, I think they're ready. I think that they're giving them one member a little grace period, and hopefully the next meeting they'll be able to move ahead. If they don't move ahead at the next meeting, I think then it might be appropriate to say, come on, guys, we understand the process. We need to move on. So.
I think it would be good to do it now with the kind of with the understanding that we feel it would be helpful and compatible with the master plan, and is in conjunction with the master plan, that put it in that respect that it fits within the overall.
It would help the overall timeline
Right.
of the master plan.
Can I make a suggestion?
Please.
So I think the most helpful language might be to frame this around the presentation that you had tonight related to the upcoming RFP activity, and to perhaps emphasize that you believe it would be helpful for the township in the RFP process to mention that the submission is in, that the property is in submission for inclusion on the registry. That I think would put the right emphasis on timeliness that you're looking for, while at the same time tying it to something tangible.
I like that positioning. Would someone like to try to state a motion?
I'll make the motion.
First throat clear wins.
If I can get Colin's words, I'll make the motion. Colin, you want to help me put this together?
Yeah, Ron, I believe what you were going to propose.
Yes,
was
thank you.
That this committee send a letter to the Historic Commission thanking them for their work on the submission for the inclusion on the National Registry of Historic Places and requesting that the Historic Commission authorize the submission of that that package by the end of February so that the township may include the status in any future RFP documents related to the recent LSA grant that the submission is in process, which would help with defining qualified contractors to do the work.
That's my motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second that motion.
All right. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. The motion's passed. We'll draft that letter. Thank you. And we kept ASAP out of it. Well done, Colin. Community communications, Ron, any statement or update?
Well, as you stated in the beginning, we've been in a dry spell. So there's been no need for public communication, but we've been meeting with our brother and sister organizations who are interested in moving Patterson Farm forward. And we also see a really good opportunity here when the National Registry and when Joe feels comfortable of doing a public communication. In fact, perhaps a news release in conjunction with the township and others commenting about submitting the application for the National Registry. And based upon the recommendation from AOI, I'll be meeting with Bet to talk about the potential for, a public meeting to gather more input in the future when the time is right to do that, Dennis.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Dennis, I
Yep.
appreciate what you'd done with the summary using the data from the National Registry application, and you sent around to us a summary
Yes.
of some suggested narratives that could be used in the future for publicizing the history of some of the buildings. So appreciate that. I hadn't read through it entirely, and I had to revert it back to I guess what's now considered a DEI font, so that it was easier for my eyes to read. So,
Okay. All right.
But thank you for doing that, and I think it'll be useful.
No, it's based on the the document that Joe compiled that makes the case for why this site is worthy of listing on the National Registry. And I want to say it's 40 plus pages. And thanks to Chat GPT, I did I think a 4-page version, a 2-page version, and a 1-page version of basically that. It was
The current application is 128 pages. I have a copy of it.
no, I know the whole. Yeah, this is just the one chapter, the key chapter. Yeah, it's why the review takes so long. Okay, thank you. Any other business? Anything else?
I had one clarification. Dan said that this property is part of the Edgewood Village Historic District. And as far as I know, it has not been
It is not.
included. It's adjacent to it. So just for the record.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the considerations at some future point is there an advantage to making it part of that Edgewood Village Historical District? And that has not been run the ground or really fully analyzed. The analysis that was done with the outside experts during the master planning process at that juncture kind of said, not really. There's no real disadvantage, but there's no real advantage. Now, might that evolve or change given different circumstances over time? I don't know. Anything else? We've had our public comment. Fred, could you want to review any assignments and future schedule?
Next meeting will be Thursday, February 12th.
Okay.
I don't have anything yet beyond February.
Right, okay.
I
That's a Thursday, right?
Right.
Are we going to try to go back to a routine, like second Thursday?
I believe that.
We were on that kind of schedule, and then through the summer, we meandered off of it. Would everyone prefer that we lock and load it and try to book it that way?
It's good for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense, right? So I'll talk to Katie about that slot. I think that second February, 7:30 was pretty regularly open. Okay, all right.
As you mentioned about the October memo that we sent to the board, now that Colin and Judy Reese are members, I'll forward that to you.
Thank you, Fred.
And to Judy. I think we've taken the presumption that we will be interfacing with the township, and Dan seemed to indicate an openness to that as they develop the bidding documents and design on the 5 properties. So I guess some portion of us will be reaching out to the township on that.
On the bidding process and
Details of the scope and.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's going to be the
Yeah.
first step is getting an AE
have to get it
and figuring out maybe a little bit more what the priorities are, given going
right.
into that.
If some combination of your subcommittee can meet with Dave and Jim to be sure we're all on the same page as that ball starts rolling down the aisle.
I don't know if they would, if that would fall within the purview of the existing township engineer, or if they would have to go out separately for.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have an authoritative answer. What Dan did say is that the staff is looking to hire an engineer and an architect for the whole process. So I can say, like, listen, we have a couple $100,000 set aside. It's been there for a couple of years, but that can get eaten up pretty quick just on qualified engineering. So I think this grant is really going to help, and I am looking forward to a faster pace. Maybe perhaps not the pace that some of our friends in the public are looking for, but yeah, I think that's the plan to date. But Dan is better suited to answer that.
Right. Okay.
The only other thing is the draft letter to Historic Commission, Ron or Dennis, sorry.
Well, you were taking notes on that motion, I noticed.
Cryptic notes.
If just share your notes and I'll draft.
Okay.
I'll take that on.
And not to give you a task, but I understand you will express some of the comments that were made tonight to the other members of the board.
Yeah, listen, and we'll get to know each other and how we each work with time. I take notes over the stuff that I want to have one-on-one conversations with versus what I'll give in my public report in the next Board of Supervisors meeting next Wednesday. But I hear you. I've got the assignment. I'm on it.
Leave it to your good judgment.
Thank you.
So I guess relative to that is how we handle getting some kind of response from the October memo.
October memo, October letter. Well, first of all, I presume you haven't seen that?
I will take the responsibility to respond to it. Yeah, and I don't have, assume I have nothing. I can go and ask staff for anything, but anything that you feel is important, please send it to me. I have been watching the public meetings. I've been abreast of what's going on, but let's just assume I don't have anything. Send it to me. So I've got,
Yeah.
this group is on the same sheet of music. So I know what your perspectives are. It'll help me better represent both parties.
Right. And Fred, that October letter was actually issued by you as the secretary to the board. So you want to just forward that on to Colin and CC the rest of us, and we'll all be fresh.
Okay, will
Okay.
do.
Thank you.
And please
Might
include
want-
Supervisor Reese, and then
But yeah,
yeah, and then I'll take the responsibility to respond to you as your committee
Okay.
liaison.
It's great. Anything else? If not, I thank this committee wholeheartedly for all your diligent work and effort and time and energy. So I propose we adjourn the meeting.
second.
All in favor? We are.
Aye.
Thank you.